Good afternoon. Welcome to the Women in Philanthropy Making a Difference webinar. My name is Janet Porter, and I've been a member of the Grants Committee for several years and also have been a member of the Education Committee for Women in Philanthropy. And it's my pleasure to introduce you today to the strategic planning process that the leadership of WIP has been engaged in for the last couple months. What we really want to do is both inform you about the strategic plan and also to really excite you about your opportunity to participate and really make a difference in the Bluffton and Hilton Head communities. WIP is all about collectively investing in local not-for-profits to improve the environment, health and human services, arts and culture, education, and community development. Thank you for joining us. Now today, this is not some of you have been involved in Zoom meetings. This is a Zoom webinar. That means that you can see and hear us as panelists, but we can't see or hear you. But we want this to be interactive, and there's two ways we're going to do this. If you move the cursor on your computer down to the toolbar, you'll see that there's both a chat function and a Q&A function. And what you might practice right now is practice just typing in hi, and that'll go to everybody, so we'll all see that people that have signed in. Just chat in hi or test or good job. Hello everyone from Faith. Hello everyone from Nancy McElroy. So you know that. Thank you very much. Hello from Novant Health. Great. So that's one way you can communicate with us. So you can just say, you can ask a question there, or you can say, great job, good explanation. Hi, Sue Harder. Hi, Coleman Peterson. Hello, Linda Kaplan. We're all joining in, so that's great. The other thing you can do is you can chat, you can communicate with us by putting a question in the question and answer part. So when at the bottom of this toolbar which you all have found now, you can put in questions, which we'll answer at the end of the webinar. So now what we want to do is I want to ask Deidre Cruden, who's Vice President of Women in Philanthropy, to join me. And we're going to talk about some of the kind of the background on the strategic plan. So Deidre, good to see you.
Hi, Janet. It's great to be here. And I'm very excited to share the fruits of several months of really hard work by our committee with our members. We're so grateful to you for hosting this webinar. And now I'm going to be addressing my remarks directly to our members. The advisory board decided to do a strategic plan because we're standing at a crossroads, and fortunately not of crisis, but of opportunity. WIP was born 22 years ago from the bold vision of 100 women who each contributed $3,000 to build something lasting, a women's giving circle rooted in generosity, community, and impact. Thanks to the leadership and passion of those who came before us, we now stand stronger than ever, with nearly 190 members, a $1.5 million endowment, and a record $150,000 in grants going out to support our community this year. And yet, we know that we're capable of even more. This strategic plan is about dreaming bigger. It's about asking ourselves, what kind of legacy do we want to leave? What kind of ripple effect can we create in our community and beyond? When 29 deserving organizations apply for our support and we can only fund 6, we are reminded that need still outpaces capacity. When we have to say no to a program that would have helped people suffering with addiction get treatment to become sober and self-sufficient, we want to be able to do more. When members tell us that they're proud of WIP, but wish we were better known, more inclusive, and more active, we know it's time to grow. The feedback that we've heard from one-on-one conversations and survey results make it clear. WIP is ready for the next chapter, a chapter where we grow our grant making, welcome more women into our circle, deepen engagement, and invest in the next generation of philanthropists. This plan isn't just about goals and metrics. It's about momentum, and it's about honoring our past while stepping boldly into our future.
Thank you, Deidre. A few months ago, Women in Philanthropy members responded to a survey showing opinions on a wide range of topics. So could you share with us what we learned from members and how did it shape the path forward?
Well, a few months ago, we asked and you answered, and your voices were clear, honest, and deeply thoughtful. And one message rang out loud and clear. You are proud to be a member of WIP. You love being part of a community of women who care deeply and boldly to make a difference on our island community. And many of you also expressed a desire to see WIP grow, both in numbers and in visibility. You want more women to experience the power of giving together. And you want WIP to shake off old stereotypes, because we are so much more than chicks with checks. We are leaders, change makers, connectors, and strategists. Another key theme was around participation. While 75% of respondents feel engaged, 15% told us that they want to be more involved and they aren't sure how to take that next step. And that's a call to action that we take seriously. You also offered suggestions on how to refresh events and add more opportunities for connection and impact, while still loving the spring and fall luncheons, which remain treasured traditions. One of the most exciting findings, a strong interest in education. Many of you want to learn more about philanthropy and deepen your understanding of community needs. That feedback directly inspired 2 new goals focused on education and cultivating a future generation of philanthropists.
Thank you, Deidre. That's a great background for now to talk about the 6 goals that were developed. Thank you so much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Leslie Gilbert, who probably needs no introduction to many of you since she's serving as her 3rd term as chair, which ends in July. And she's going to talk to us about the first goal that was developed for the Women in Philanthropy Strategic Plan. And that first goal is to increase funding for grants and outreach and education initiatives. And as a member of the Grants Committee, I can tell you, we every year struggle with how little funds we have, given how great the need is. So Leslie, could you put the annual WIP grant funding in context for us?
It's a pleasure to talk to this group about that, because that was one of the main impetus of doing the strategic plan. Because like you just said, Janet, everybody said we need more. We want more so that we can help this community. Our humble beginnings started, the first year of grant making was $6,000. And if you saw in the newsletter today, this year, we're awarding $148,700. So I think we should step back and take a little pride in how much we have done. Yeah, I get very excited about that. And it's over $1 million now that we have given to the community. So we keep hearing that we want more. And so that's one of the main objectives of what we're going to be doing.
Terrific. So one of the questions I know that was raised has been this issue of annual dues. And I know, Leslie,
contribution.
Contribution. I'm sorry, contribution. One of the questions was whether it should be raised to 500 or even 1,000. So what was the response, and are there plans to raise the annual contribution?
Things that would have been easy on the surface in order to get more funding for grants is to increase the contribution, the annual contribution. As we did some research with other women's giving circles, ours is very modest in comparison. So that's why we asked the question. Well, I'm here to tell you that based on the feedback, we will not be increasing our minimum contribution at this time for several reasons. And people gave us a lot of good reasons. I won't go into all of them, but they were very thoughtful as to why we wouldn't want to do that. It could discourage new members. It could discourage people that have been part of WIP for a long time that are now in not a position to increase their funding. So we will not be doing that because we don't want to be counter to what our goal is to increase, not discourage or insult people. But one of the things that you will see is we're going to try to encourage people to move up what I call the giving ladder. So if they're at the 300, maybe consider moving to 400 or 500. If you're at 500, moving up that chain, because at some point in your life you might move back down. But we're going to try to come up with some incentives, some ideas, things that will encourage people to do that.
Also, Leslie, one of the decisions that was made several years ago, and was very wise in retrospect, was the fact that the annual operating funds that are collected from the contributions are split 50% go into the endowment and 50% go to award grants. And that's enabled us to to really increase
Yes.
the endowment. So talk a little bit about the endowment and, whether there's any thought to changing that allocation.
Yeah, well, first I wanted to express with pride, we sometimes think of the endowment of the Women in Philanthropy endowment, but we can't negate the fact that we also got a significant amount from Dr. Julianne Blewett Foster in her memorial fund. So I like to now start thinking about those as a combined endowment of, as of today, I did check it, $1,911,000. So,
Wow.
the Women in Philanthropy is $1,377,000. And you talked about the 50-50. You can see when you look at the chart of when we made that change, because you can see the big jump in how much we were giving to grants at that time. So we asked the question, should we change that again? Should we go more into the grant making, less into the endowment? And this one, the response was very clear. The 50-50 is very popular. So we will not be recommending a change to that. I hope that makes some of you happy.
I think that's great. And I also think we're missing an opportunity, Leslie, if we don't put a bee in people's bonnets about the value of a planned gift. If Women in Philanthropy is near and dear to your heart, putting something in your will, which is what happened with the Dr. Blount Memorial, is a wonderful way to give back to the community in perpetuity. And we hope many people will, just think about that as they do their estate planning. So let me ask you one more question. Will we be pursuing a strategy to increase the operating fund?
Exactly.
And why is that
and when we
important?
start talking about some of our, I want to give a little bit of history, because when we talk about increasing our funding, in the past, the operating fund was funded by what we might have had left over after the ticket sales for the luncheons or any other activities. And as you know, from the cost of things now, we don't have any excess. In fact, we're subsidizing a lot of that. The other was that the advisory board contributed $100 a year. In addition, when we would have the luncheons, in order for the grantees or our speakers or anybody like that to attend, either the grants committee members, the advisory board members would buy a ticket for the people, and so they could participate. And as we were talking through the strategic plan, we think that the organization should be invested in having them attend, not these individuals. So one of the things we want to do is increase our operating fund so that we can do that. Also, that we would want to be able to host some events so that we can broaden our reach. We'll talk a little bit about more of that in participation and things like that. And as Deidre mentioned,
Thank you, Leslie.
Should.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Now we're gonna turn to Margaret McManus, who's been involved with Women in Philanthropy, I think, for about 15 years, and is a former chair, so is probably well known to a lot of you. So, Margaret, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet.
We're going
So,
to talk about 2 additional WIP goals. WIP has identified a goal, in addition to increasing funding, has identified a goal of increasing WIP membership from the current 190 to 250 members by 2027. Can you please put this in context as to what the membership of WIP has been historically and what it is now, and what your thoughts are?
yes, thank you, Janet. Well, over the past 22 years, membership has really yo-yoed. Basically, it's had steady growth, but we had a surge of growth in around 2010 when the Community Foundation gave us a match. They matched every new member's donation. So we really worked hard to get new members, and we got up to 220. But unfortunately, that didn't last long. And there are reasons for that, which we'll talk about later. But then that was a high for us. But the membership sort of dropped, but it then picked back up and kept growing. And then the pandemic hit, and we did lose some members in the pandemic. Elizabeth Loader and her advisory board did a wonderful job keeping us together and doing activities outside, trying to keep us together. And we saw some steady growth, and we've had growth ever since. So we're presently at 190. So 250 in 27 is not impractical. It's not without, we'll have to work hard, but we see it as obtainable.
So, Margaret, what are some of the strategies that you've thought about to increase our membership from 190 to 250?
Well, the best thing that people can do to bring in a new member is the personal touch. Ask someone you know. And in that regard, when you're looking for a new member, we're looking for like-minded women who share the values of WIP. These are the women that we keep. Their retention rates are strong. So that is the kind of woman we are looking for. And personal invitation is the best. But we also plan a yearly recruitment event, ambassadors in different communities, delivering membership packets directly, and listing new members in the newsletter, which we already do. And then we thought we might do some community to community exchanges. For example, Hilton Head Plantation with Indigo Run. That way, more people know each other when they go to events. You feel more included. So that's one of our ideas. And then we want to work on a program to do outreach to all communities. So because the survey told us you want more diversity, you want younger members, you want more people from Bluffton, more diverse groups. This is now a membership committee goal. So those are some of the strategies we've been looking at.
So, Margaret, in addition to the goal of increasing the number of members, the third goal that was established was to increase the participation rate. So we don't just want more members, we want our members to be more actively engaged. So would you talk about how we measure membership participation and how we're going to determine, what goal we're going to set relative to a participation rate?
Okay, first of all, participation is really important because participation helps retain members. So the more people you can get engaged in what we're doing, the stronger the membership is, but also those members are the one people who sign up for events, the number of people who show up. How many people sign up for committees? How many people are signing up for committees and not signing up for other committees? That really helps us in terms of looking at the committee structure too. And then how many people bring guests to events? So in terms of increasing, there are small ways that people can do this. For example, if you form carpools in your neighborhood, calling up your neighbors or calling up somebody you know that would go if they had a ride, call them and invite them to ride with you. And then maybe coming together to support different charitable events, sitting together as a table full of WIP members. That's impressive.
So what should
And
members,
then for us as members, we should always make sure we're checking on upcoming events.
fabulous. So so those are great ideas for what members might do to support this goal. So thank you very much, Margaret. We appreciate it. Those are the first 3 goals established by the Strategic Planning Committee. And now we're going to discuss the 4th goal, which is to develop a comprehensive communication plan. And Gigi Maxfield will be joining us. Gigi?
Thank you, Janet.
So we apologize.
with me today.
Gigi's in Barbados. So we don't have her video today. But we can hear her, and we're glad you're joining us today. So Gigi, can you describe what you want to accomplish with developing a comprehensive communication plan?
Certainly, thank you. Our goal in developing a comprehensive communications plan for women in philanthropy is to create a consistent, professional, and an engaging presence across all of our platforms. We want to make sure that all of our materials, including the website, our membership brochure, event programs, that they all feel aligned and that they're updated and they reflect the unified voice of women in philanthropy. We're focused on making things easier for our members, such as introducing online registrations and renewals, keeping everyone better informed with timely updates for upcoming events and educational gatherings. We're looking at creating a social media calendar and redesigning the website. This will make it more functional and committee-driven while keeping it current. So in this way, we can enable members and prospects to engage more deeply with WIP's missions and with WIP's mission and with all of the activities that we hold. Ultimately, our communications plan is designed to strengthen connections with our current members, but also making it easier to welcome new ones through our consistent outreach, deeper engagement through our education, through our membership events, and helping women in philanthropy to flourish as we expand our philanthropic impact across the Lowcountry.
Gigi, as you were thinking of working together on this strategic plan, what communication problems were you trying to solve?
Actually, we're aiming to solve a few issues. First, our messaging, which is critical to any organization. It's currently a bit fragmented across our materials, across the website, the brochure, registration. So what we'd like to do is establish a platform, making it easy for members and prospects to understand clearly WIP's mission, who we are, and what it is that we do. We need to bring everything into alignment with a consistent voice and for all of our materials to be updated so that it's easy to pass out information to our friends and family to share WIP's mission, but it's all delivering the same message. And right now we're a bit disjointed. Secondly, some of our processes like membership, again, registration, renewals, they're manual, and when our systems are manual, it's harder to track member data and to stay connected in a timely way. So we're streamlining these systems to help us better serve both our current membership and our future members. We also recognize that member engagement can be strengthened through more regular personalized communication by creating the social media calendar that was mentioned earlier, updating the website, using new tools such as text reminders or hosting small gatherings by a board committee member. In this way, we can make sure that members feel connected and involved and that they're always informed. It's also important to note that through these methods of communication, we want women to know that Women in Philanthropy is an inclusive and welcoming giving circle where all women are encouraged to learn more about us, to become involved, and to discover how they can help create lasting change throughout the Low Country.
If members listening today are really inspired by this goal and want to make a difference, what can they do to participate in accomplishing this goal?
Well, there are many ways to get involved and to make an impact, big and small. If you enjoy writing or design or you're a social media whiz, we love your creativity as we continue to, refresh and share our message, especially through the newsletter and website. So reaching out, especially to the communications committee or to any of us with a talent that you'd like to share, we would welcome that support. We encourage it. We welcome volunteers to help us with feedback. We're going to redesign the website. We'd like to know how you're able to navigate it. Is it a fresh website that you'd like to share with others to encourage them to learn more about WIP? Really grassroots, spreading the word, sharing WIP with your friends, sending a text message about an event that's upcoming that you think may be of interest to a group of ladies that you enjoy lunching with. Just inviting a friend to one of our grants in action events, or just encouraging people to find out more about WIP and to visit our website and to come to the luncheon. It's really just about inviting and making it inclusive and not exclusive. We want all women to feel welcome and to know that there is a place for them at Women in Philanthropy.
Gigi, years ago, I heard a speech, an after dinner speech at a dinner, and the speaker talked about how important it is to make people feel like they belong, and how, we can always remember that moment in kindergarten when one of those kindergartners turned to us and said, and held out their hand to hold your hand. And what we really do want women in the community to feel like is that Women in Philanthropy is a place where they belong. So thank you very much, Gigi.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Now, before I bring on Pamela Stone, I want to remind everybody, we want you to ask questions, and the whole panel is going to come back at the end and answer questions from you about the goals. So you can go down on your toolbar and see where you got onto chat, and you'll see 2 or 3 icons over. There's an icon for questions. So please feel free to ask questions. And now let's talk about the last 2 goals in the strategic plan. So Pamela Stone and I have had the opportunity to work together for 3 or 4 years now on the grants committee, which has been terrific. She's been a really great chair, and she's going to help talk about the next goal, which is to develop a comprehensive education plan on philanthropy and community issues. So welcome, Pam. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Janet.
So the strategic plan has 2 goals on education. That was clearly a theme that came out from our survey and that is really important for us. And these 2 goals both say that we're going to spend a greater emphasis on educating members and youth in the community about need in the community and about philanthropy. Is this accurate? And what prompted this kind of epiphany that we need to be more education focused?
Well, I think it's been a long-running program within WIP, and that was reflected in the surveys by how popular how popular it is among members. They were really positive in their reflections on the education program. So kudos to all of our founding mothers and sisters for everything that they've done over the years. But now, when you're just talking with Gigi about bringing in more people and asking more people to sit with you, what's one way to engage people is playing together and learning together. So let's create a more robust learning community. The Grants in Action program is hugely popular, so maybe we could be having more visits to our community grantee partners. Maybe we could be having more dialogues with their leadership in different formats. Maybe we could be doing that at different times of the day or even on a weekend sometimes for some of the members who aren't able to participate during work days. Maybe we could read a book together as a learning community and have discussions like some of those popular ones that you lead, Janet. So things like that. And then, looking more into our history and into our mission, part of our mission statement, the second bullet point says, engage and inspire women along their philanthropic path. So how can we enhance that as a learning opportunity and a way to engage more women, maybe who aren't currently WIP members, but who are certainly involved in philanthropy? Exploring our values together as women, exploring how we leave a legacy, how we pass on those values through family philanthropy. Some of our co-members in WIP have amazing intergenerational family foundations that we could be talking with them in a more sort of intentional way as a learning community. And when we think about like the growth of philanthropy on Hilton Head and in Beaufort County, particularly within some of these gated communities, they've started new foundations that are wildly popular within the community. They're led primarily by men. So let's reach out to those women and invite them to learn along with us and strengthen our values together as philanthropists.
Yes, and the whole purpose of Women in Philanthropy is the collective impact we can have by coming together and choosing to target not-for-profits where there's the greatest need on the island. And one of the ways I want to remind people that we do that is by every year, Pamela has led the committee through a brainstorming process to identify 3 potential themes for the year. The themes during COVID were very easy to establish, about thriving through COVID, because we just really wanted to survive that. But and then the membership votes on what those themes are. And then when the grant applications go out, people have an opportunity to submit in terms of those themes. And last year, we really wanted to encourage people to have pathways to self-sufficiency. In other words, what could we do to increase people to be self-sufficient? So Pam, will you just mention about how that theme process works and how much that allows us to focus our efforts?
Sure. I mean, we go back and I've looked through years of notes from our previous committees. And so we keep bringing up the themes that have come up in the past as ideas and looking over our mission statement, and the members come in with articles and concerns, particularly right now with what's happening, so the grants committee is always reflecting on and talking with other community leaders and the Community Foundation of the Low Country to ferret those out. And we have really robust discussions as a committee to arrive at 3 that we then present to WIP as a whole.
Spirited debate.
Spirited
debate. So let's talk about another goal identified in the strategic plan, which I think is very exciting. With another goal is to develop a Women in Philanthropy Youth Philanthropy Committee to think through strategies about educating young women about community issues and the role of philanthropic organizations, and to reach deeper into youth in the community. So would you talk, what have you learned from other similar women's philanthropic organizations about how they've managed to focus on nurturing, tomorrow's philanthropists?
Sure. Well, there's a couple of things. One is that one of the potential red flags with WIP was a possibility of aging out as membership. So what's one way that we can address that? It's by engaging intentionally younger women. Another thing, with growing our membership, what's a way to do that? It's intentionally reaching out to younger people. What's a way that we can think more about our legacy and deepening philanthropy in our community? That's by working with young people. So this is an idea to develop a committee to study it first. We're not saying right out of the bat, this is what we're going to do, but let's work together to research and see what else is out there, who we should be partnering with, and what angles we might want to pursue. And certainly thanks to Women in Philanthropy for joining Philanos, we're able to look at all of these, hundreds of other women's giving circles and learn from them. And just a little bit of research that I started, I learned about a group called the Women's Fund of Smith County, Texas. And they have a program called Girls Invested in Volunteer Efforts. They started that 10 years ago with 20 girls who showed up. They awarded, the girls raised funds together and picked one, again, probably with a lot of spirited debate, Janet, picked one group and they were able to grant $2,500 to that group. Now, 10 years later, they have over 200 girls participating, and they gave away $20,000 last year. And they, over the past 10 years, have given away almost $98,000 as a group of girls. And then they also learn about nonprofits. They spend time, working on their resumes and thinking about how their volunteer experience can fold into developing their resume and career and college applications and all that. So it's win-win-win. But we're not saying this is absolutely what we're going to do. We'd like for a bunch of WIP women who have this kind of experience and background and interest to get involved in this working group.
So Pamela, let's talk about that again. One of the things we wanted to do today was to get people excited about the strategic plan and also be thinking about how they might participate. So how could women who are interested in these educational goals, what should they do to be able to be a part of creating the future here?
I think maybe Deidre or Leslie could best speak to that. I did see something go out in the newsletter today with our email addresses for one thing, so in terms of signing up for a committee or talking with some of the leaders of the different committees, but that's just my first take on it. I think maybe Deidre or Leslie might have a better answers.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to ask
Sure.
all the panelists now I'm going to ask Deidre to come back in and talk a little bit. We've talked about the 6 goals, Deidre. So let's talk about the next steps are and what members can do and follow up on the question that I asked Pamela.
Well, today's webinar, you talked about next steps, and today's webinar is I don't see my video.
Your video is working just fine, Deidre.
Okay. Okay, fine. I see you, but I don't see me. But that's good. Today's webinar and the newsletter that appeared in your email this afternoon are part of the first step, and that's communication. One of the golden rules of strategic planning is to over-communicate. And that's why our communications committee is rolling up their sleeves and ensuring that every member of our organization is well informed and as involved as they want to be. And Gigi laid out some really ambitious steps for how we're going to be overhauling our communications. And next, we're moving into action. Each one of our 6 strategic goals is going to be carried out by dedicated working groups, and each with a team leader, a mission, and a roadmap. And I'd also like to add a team of willing participants and eager participants who are excited about making changes. These are the women leading the charge. Goal 1 which was on funding, which was presented by Leslie, is going to be led by her. Goals 2 and 3, growing membership and increasing participation, will be led by Kay Black and Margaret McManus. Goal 4, the building of a comprehensive communication plan, will be led by Gigi and co-chaired by Vicki Olson. And goals 5 and 6 that Pamela just spoke to, the philanthropic education program and the exploring of a youth philanthropy community, will be led by Pamela Stone. And each of these, and following up on what Pamela suggested, each of these groups is looking for members. And they're in the newsletter today, we outlined some very specific skill sets that we are in need of. But we also are looking for, if you have a willingness to participate and an interest in this, there's a place for you. In the weeks ahead, each group will hold its first kickoff meeting. And in those meetings, we're going to be creating success metrics. How are we going to know when we're getting towards success? And we're also going to be creating SMART goals around each of these, so that each goal is going to have a time frame attached to it and a measurement. And we'll be assigning accountabilities. So the various strategies are each going to have somebody on the committee who will be responsible for seeing that it happens. And those are the next steps.
Excellent. Thank you, Deidre. So now can all the panelists join me and we'll try to answer?
I have one. I would also like to, I think we had an additional question, which is basically how are we going to achieve these goals? And I'd like to talk to that because it's really important. The first thing is invite others in. If you are inspired, ask other people to become members of WIP. Invite them to one of the recruitment events that we've talked about, or host one yourself. Join a working group. We're eager to have members helping us with the strategic plan. Spread the word. Talk about WIP's story. We're not just chicks with checks. Let them know where our organization is and some of the new things that we're involved in. Leslie and I have had conversations recently with some members who stopped their membership in WIP, and we've kind of excited them by some of the things that are happening today. And then be part of the momentum. This is your WIP, your vote, your voice, your opportunity, your energy, and your ideas matter. Together, we're not just planning, we're building something extraordinary. And finally, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the members of this amazing strategic planning team: Colleen Beach, Debbie Cahoon, Dee Colello, Leslie Gilbert, Margaret McManus, Gigi Maxfield, Mary Noonan, Vicki Olson, and Pamela Stone. Your vision, care, and commitment brought us to this exciting moment, and I thank you deeply.
Thank you, Deidre. And now we can have all of our panelists turn on their videos and we'll see if we can answer any questions. And we're going to start with a question by Faith. I want to encourage you again to please ask questions. Go down to on your toolbar to the Q&A little icon and type in any questions you have. So Faith has a question that I know Pam wants to answer. And the question is, can education also include providing local not-for-profits the opportunity to educate members on local issues, or facilitating nonprofit information sharing, capacity giving in light of issues they are facing with limited resources? Pam?
Yes, yeah, I just quickly I typed back to Faith, and thanks for asking that question. I think it's a good point too. More than a question, it's like, yeah, let us listen to and learn from the leaders of all these local organizations deeply. And we try to do that. We want to do that more. We want to come up with new ways of hearing from and growing together with community group partners.
So Leslie and Deidre, I'm not sure who wants to answer this question, but we've referenced during this webinar that WIP has now joined a national organization of like women philanthropy groups across the United States. So would one of you describe about that organization and what we're learning from our participation? Leslie, hit it.
Mhm.
Do you want me to take that one?
Yes.
I'll be glad to. Pamela and Vicky brought to our attention this organization called Philanos. And what it is it's an affiliation of over 100 women's giving circles all around the country. And we started dipping our toe in it and looking at some of their websites, getting some metrics, checking in on what they are. And so we decided to join. And this is another example of why having some funding in our operating fund, we use that to join this organization. And one of the beauties of it is they host webinars on many, many different subjects, including grant making, education, growing membership, how to use your funding, how to raise funds, all sorts of wonderful things. And I'd like to make this group aware, it is open to absolutely everyone in WIP. By our initial membership, everyone can be a member. And I've set up initially for the advisory board, and once they, got a little acquainted with it, open it up to all the members of the committees, different committees, and the strategic plan. So anyone else that would like to have access to it, just shoot me an email and I'll get you on board.
Leslie, can you spell the name of that organization?
Philanos.
Janet,
PHIL.
Greek.
Janet, I'd like to pose a question that I think may be on people's minds, but hasn't been asked. And that's, does this emphasis on increasing funding mean that we're going to start doing fundraising events like galas and golf outings and all of that? And I'd like to address that to Leslie.
Okay, I didn't.
Leslie, can you hear me?
Deidre, Leslie's frozen, so could you
Do.
answer that question?
Yes, I can. And no, we're not going to be doing fundraising events, but we're going to be making it possible for members who want to go beyond their annual contributions for specific things to make additional contributions. And that's one of the things that's going to be explored by that particular group, is just some of the best ways to do that. And we'll be looking at some of the organizations in the organization that Leslie just talked about for some examples. For instance, at the upcoming spring luncheon, we have sponsors who are two businesses and one individual who were asked to do a sponsorship, and they're willing to do it. We had a silent auction as part of the spring this spring event, and so we'll be looking at things like that can help us grow the operating fund that we have, as well as increase money available for grants.
Terrific. Thank you very much. So I think that wraps up our webinar today. Thank you so much to everybody who participated. We hope we've gotten you excited about the collective potential we have to make a difference in Bluffton and Hilton Head. And we hope you'll join us in improving the lives of everyone we can in the Hilton Head area. Thank you so much.
We got another question. We got another question.
Yes, from Mary Stewart. Can you see it, Janet?
I can. Can we encourage folks to make donations to our WIP fund as memorial gifts or gifts in honor of our birthdays or special events?
Leslie, can you do that?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, we've had that in the past. One of our members celebrated a major birthday, and several WIP members, she probably doesn't need more stuff. So they made a nice little contribution.
Well, Leslie's
thank you
not
very
in
much.
Barbados, but her
Yeah.
video still keeps going out.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we hope you've gotten excited, and please look at the newsletter and see how you might get involved. Thank you so much.